Just over a year ago, this tweet changed everything. It sparked an idea that evolved into something more than I ever expected: Startup Graveyard Africa. Today, I want to take you on a journey of the transformation of Startup Graveyard Africa, how it went from a directory that lists startups to a platform that explores the untold stories of startups that failed in Africa and how we can learn from them to build better ventures. Hello there, I'm Kelvin, founder of Startup Graveyard Africa. When I first built Startup Graveyard Africa, it was just a directory that lists startups, and there was just basic information there: when they failed, how much they had raised, and a link to some articles announcing their shutdown. It was just a resource to track these startups that failed, and people found it interesting, but I quickly realized that we could do more. We could look into these startups, find out what they did right, what they did wrong, and document it for future founders, investors, anyone interested in building in the African tech space. So I decided to expand the original idea. The first thing that I decided to do was to build a blog that we could use to write articles that could inform about the African tech space. But then we could also do case studies that would look into each of the startups that had been documented and try to understand why they failed. So a couple of weeks of coding and development, testing with a few of my close friends, and I put out the second version. This second version came with the blog as well as an accompanying newsletter. One of the challenges at this point was reaching out to writers that would do the research about the startups and put that into writing form. This meant that the cost of running the project increased because of the research and writing, as well as server costs to now host this blog. But I felt this was something that needed to be done, so we went ahead and did it. Once the writers were on board, we were putting out articles, we were putting on case studies. Again, I hit a part on the journey that I realized we needed to do an actual brand identity. Originally, I thought it would just be like a weekend project. I've said this a couple of times in some of my other videos on my personal channel. So we took out a couple of weeks. I reached out to a brand designer, a UI UX designer, and we came up with a brand identity that represented my idea, and I developed it thanks to having those programming skills. And yeah, we launched that in December. Funny enough, it coincided with a LinkedIn post that mentioned us, and it kind of blew up. So yeah, I got some feedback, both positive, both negative, and took them into account and continued working. So I would say this is the third version of Startup Graveyard Africa. First, it started as a directory of startups. Then it became a directory that also had a blog, and then now it has a proper brand identity. The idea is simple: to be the resource that founders, investors, and anyone interested in the African space can understand the challenges of building a startup in Africa, understand why some of these promising startups failed, and build better solutions by learning from them. In December 2024, we put out our first annual report, and it contained details about why startups failed, some of the major contributing factors. You can find that on the website as well. To reach even more people, we launched a podcast earlier in the year, and this covers tech and startups in Africa. We talk about what's happened over the week and discuss some of the challenges, discuss some of the potential solutions. So if you're interested in joining this discussion, check out Tech Tide Africa podcast. I'll be looking forward to your comments. So what's next for Startup Graveyard Africa? At the moment is to keep on expanding our case study database. We also want to feature startup founders and investors on maybe a podcast or even on our website. Down the line, we'd like to build some useful tools that can help give more insight into building startups in Africa and maybe even some live events. We'll see. We'll see, maybe. But one thing I truly believe is that failure isn't the end, it's a learning opportunity. Just because something did not work, it could be because of timing, it could be maybe the resources were not available at the time. It doesn't necessarily mean the idea was not a good one. So every failure that happens, you take it on your chin and you keep moving, try to keep on innovating, and we would build a better future, but we'll build it more informed. Building Startup Graveyard has been an incredible journey, and I'm excited about what's next. If you like what we are doing and would like to support our project, check out our Buy Me a Coffee link. I would put it in the description below. This helps with server costs, it helps with research and things like that. Every money is going into working on the project, so do consider supporting the project. You can check out our newsletter, check out our podcast, and I'll see you there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. I'll see you in the next one.